Okay, this is the second level of basis of classification, that is diploplastic and triploplastic organization. Already we studied that in that tissue level and is that organ level of classification, that is we discussed about that is ectoderm and endoderm, that is a diploplastic, and ectoderm endoderm is a mesoderm, is that is called as a triploplastic. Okay, now we detail studied about that with a diagram explanation to understand the concept of diploplastic and triploplastic organization of germ layers. What is embryonic germ layers? So during the embryonic development, that is zygote, and the process of fertilization. What is a fertilization? The sperm cells and egg cells to forming a zygote. So the zygote, it will be mature to forming a embryon. Okay, so during the embryonic development, the tissues and organs of animals, that will be originate 2 or 3 embryonic germ layers. Okay, so what are the 2 or 3 germ layers? What is the role of this triploplastic and diploplastic? So it will be responsible to origin of development of organs. Okay, origin of organ development. So the animals are classified into 2 categories. One is the diploplastic, another one is triploplastic. Can you understand? This is important 2 mark question. So what is the diploplastic animals and triploplastic animals? So the animals, the cells are arranged into 2 embryonic layers. What are the 2 embryonic layers? That is external ectoderm. See the diagram ma. External ectoderm, internal endoderm. So these are the 2 layers, embryonic layers are called as the diploplastic animals. Okay. So in these animals, the ectoderm gives rise to the, what is the role of these, the diploplastic animals? The 2 layers, the epidermis, that is the outer layer of the body wall, and the endoderm gives rise to the gastrodermis, underline. So the gastrodermis is a tissue lining in the gut cavity. What is this? That is a gut region, means intestine region. Okay. So if it is undifferentiated layer present in the ectoderm and endoderm, that is called as the mesogilia. Notate, what are the undifferentiated layer is present in between the ectoderm and endoderm, that is mesogilia. Later these are the mesogilia is forming a mesoderm layer. Okay, but in this the diploplastic conditions, so there is a jelly like cells, that is called as the mesogilia. What is the examples of diploplastic animals? Corals, jellyfish, sea anemone. Can you understand ma? I repeat, what is diploplastic animals? So in this diploplastic animals, 2 embryonic layers. What are the 2 embryonic layers? External ectoderm, internal endoderm. Okay, so what is the role of the external ectoderm? That will be rise to the epidermis. Dermis means skin, epi means outer. Okay, that is outer layer of the body wall. What is the role of the internal endoderm? That is gives rise to the gastrodermis. Dermis means that is skin, gastro means intestinal. Okay, so this is the tissue lining of the gut cavity. Okay, in undifferentiated layer that will be present in between the ectoderm and endoderm, that is called as the mesogilia. What are the examples of diploplastic animals? Corals, jellyfish, sea anemone. Okay, can you understand? Triploplastic animals. So what is the triploplastic animals? So it's having a 3 germinal layer. So what are the 3 germinal layer? That is outer ectoderm, inner endoderm, and middle mesoderm. Okay, so what is the role of the ectoderm cells? It forming a skin, hair, neuron, nail, teeth. What is the role of the inner endoderm? It forming a gut region, that is the intestinal region, lungs, and liver. Okay, next is middle mesoderm cells is responsible to muscle, bone, heart. Dear students, listen. So these are the triploplastic animals. Is important questions, and next 12th we have to study it in human embryonic development. Okay, so please listen and understand. These are the triploplastic germ layers. Okay, so most of the triploplastic animals, it will be show the organ system level of organization. Can you recall, ma? So triploplastic animals, that is the mesoderm. The mesoderm, it will be the evolution to lead the structural complexity. What is this structural complexity? That is organ system level of organizations. Okay. So what is which one is having the phylum of triploplastic animals? That is phylum Platyhelminthes to phylum Chordates. Okay, so these categories, it's having the organ system level of organization. The important question: what are the differentiate between the diploplastic and triploplastic? Okay. Now we study the third conditions of basis of level of classification. So now we complete two levels of basis classification. What is this? So one is, that is the cellular level organization, that is tissue level, organ system level. So this is the levels of organization. Okay, the first complete levels of organization. Second one is, that is a diploplastic and triploplastic organization. Okay, so the third organization is, that is a patterns of symmetry. What is the meaning of symmetry, ma? Symmetry is nothing but, that is a body's arrangement in which parts that lie on opposite side of an axis are identical. That is called as a symmetry. We have to cutting a lemon, we have to cutting at the center portion, means the two opposite sides of an axis it will be identical. Okay, that is called as a symmetry. So same way, our body, we have to cut it, means the body arrangement, cut it means the two parts, it will be, that is the opposite side of an axis or identical. That is called as a symmetry. Okay, so an animal's body results from the animal's pattern of development. The simplest body plan is seen in sponges. Underline which one is having the simplest body pattern of symmetry, that is called as the sponges. Underline. Next is, what is asymmetry? Asymmetry means do not display an equal. If we cut, cannot be separate, the opposite axis not equal, do not display symmetry, that is called as the asymmetrical. Because such animals, it's having lack a definite body plan or a irregular shaped and any plan. Okay, so it will be passing through the center of the body plane, it will be passing through the center of the body, does not divide them into equal halves. That is, examples is sponges. An asymmetrical body plan is also seen in the adult gastropods, that is the snails. Okay, so these are the snails also having a asymmetrical body plan. What is the differentiate between the symmetry and asymmetry? Symmetry means if we have to cut it at the center axis, it will be dividing into two equal halves. That is called as the symmetry. The body cannot be lacking of, or it's a definite body plan, that is a irregular shaped, it will be cutting, or it's any plane passing through the center cannot be divided into two halves, that is called as the asymmetry. Okay, the simplest body plan is seen in sponges. Okay, but the sponges is the asymmetry. Can you understand? Radial symmetry means what? Now we have to understand what is a symmetry. If we cut at the center axis equal parts, that is symmetry. There is no equal parts, that is asymmetry. Okay, the radial symmetry means we have to cutting a central axis at any plane. எந்த சைடில் வெட்டினாலுமே நமக்கு என்ன கிடைக்கும் அப்படின்னா ஈக்குவல் பாடி பார்ட்ஸ், டூ ஐடென்டிக்கல் பார்ட்ஸ் கிடைக்கும். தட் இஸ் கால்ட் as a radial symmetry. Can you understand? So when any plane passing through the central axis of the body, so it will be divides an organisms into two identical parts. That is called as the radial symmetry. Examples is starfish. Starfish நம்ம எந்த ஆக்சிஸில் சென்டர் ஆக்சிஸை வச்சு எந்த லைன்லையும் நம்ம கட் பண்ணாலும் நமக்கு என்ன கிடைக்கும்? தட் இஸ் ஈக்குவல் பாடி பார்ட்ஸ் கிடைக்கும். சரியா? தட் இஸ் அ ரேடியல் சிமெட்ரி. கேன் யூ அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட்? The radial symmetrical animals have a top and bottom side but no dorsal and ventral. What is a dorsal? Dorsal means back. Ventral means abdomen sides. There is no right and left side. If we have to cutting the radial symmetrical animals, so have a top and bottom side only, but there is no dorsal or ventral side, or there is no right side or left side. Okay, so the body plan in which body parts are organized in a circle, round and axis. So it is the principal symmetry in diploplastic animals. Underline, the radial symmetry is mainly in diploplastic animals. So already in diploplastic only exhibit the tissue level of organizations. Can you understand? So this is overall they have to arrange and asking questions ma. So the underline it and write a separate note for one word. Okay, so what is the principal symmetry of diploplastic animals? That is a radial symmetry. Okay, so this is the diploplastic animals. What is the system level of diploplastic animals? That is the tissue level. Can you understand? Listen, so the cnidarians, what is the examples of radial symmetry? That is cnidarians such as sea anemone and corals are radially symmetrical. Okay, so this is the previous slide continuous palm. Just one mistakes occur. Okay, next is a pentamerous radial symmetry. What is a pentamerous radial symmetry? So it's mainly occur in triploblastic animals. So these are the triploblastic animals is like a echinoderms, phylum echinodermata. Example is starfish. Okay, starfish having cut. Radial examples we also studied the starfish. Okay, but we have to cut at the central axis, that is a 5 planes. We have to getting a 5 planes of a symmetry, that is equal 5 planes. Okay, that is shows is called as the pentamerous radial symmetry. Can you understand? Next is biradial symmetry. What is a bi? Bi means two pairs, two. Okay, we have cutting a two-way, getting two pairs of symmetrical. இப்போ வந்து ரெண்டு விதத்தில் நான் கட் பண்ணலாம். ஒன் இஸ் ட்ரான்ஸ்வர்ஸ் வெக்ஷன்லேயும் ஆக்சஸ்லேயும் கட் பண்ணலாம், இன்னொன்று வந்து லாங்கிட்யூனல் ஆக்சஸ்லேயும் கட் பண்ணலாம். ஓகேவா? ஸோ தட் இஸ் வி ஹாவ் டு கெட்டிங் அ டூ பேர்ஸ் ஆஃப் சிமெட்ரி. ரெண்டு பேர்ஸ் ஆஃப் சிமெட்ரி வந்து எனக்கு ஒரு பாடி சைட்ஸில் கிடைக்குது. சரியா? ஸோ தட் இஸ் கால்ட் அஸ் அ பைரேடியல் சிமெட்ரி. Can you understand ma? So the animals having a two pairs of symmetrical sides. What are the two pairs of symmetrical sides? One is transverse vection, another one is a longitudinal axis. Okay, that is called as a biradial symmetrical. See the picture ma. So top to bottom, that is the and that is the version is called as the is a longitudinal. Okay, so and here east to west, that is the transverse vections. Okay, so the biradial symmetry's examples is a ctenophores. So two planes of symmetry, one through the longitudinal and sagittal axis and other through the longitudinal and transverse axis. Okay, so this is examples of is a comb jellyfish, that is a bleurobrachia. Underline bleurobrachia, comb jellyfish. So this is the same brachia we studied in later phylum. Okay, next is bilateral symmetry. So what is a bilateral symmetry? So the animals have two similar halves on either side on that central plane. அதாவது நம்ம சென்ட்ரல் பிளேனில் பண்ணுறப்ப நமக்கு வந்து ரெண்டுமே ஈக்குவல் ஹாஃப்ஸாக இருக்கிறது பைலேட்ரல் சிமெட்ரி. ஓகேவாப்பா? ஸோ இட் இஸ் அ மெயின் அட்வான்டேஜஸ் இஸ் அ டைப் ஆஃப் சிமெட்ரி இஸ் ஆல்மோஸ்ட் ஹேவிங் அ ட்ரிப்ளோபிளாஸ்டிக். அண்டர்லைன், பைலேட்ரல் சிமெட்ரியாக இருந்தாலே இது என்னவாக தான் இருக்கும்? தட் இஸ் த ட்ரிப்ளோபிளாஸ்டிக் அனிமல்ஸ். ஸோ வாட் இஸ் த அட்வான்டேஜஸ் ஆஃப் திஸ் பைலேட்ரல் சிமெட்ரி அண்ட் ட்ரிப்ளோபிளாஸ்டிக் அனிமல்ஸ் இஸ் மெயின்லி இன் இன்செக்ட்ஸ். ஓகே, ஸோ இட்ஸ் ஹெல்ப்ஃபுல் இன் சீக்கிங் ஃபுட், locating mates and escaping from predators in more efficiently. So these are the advantages of a bilateral symmetry in triploblastic animals. Okay, so these animals having a dorsal and ventral sides and is the anterior and posterior ends and is the right and left sides bilaterally symmetrical. Okay, so these are the bilateral symmetrical. It will be exhibit the cephalization. What is a cephalization? So in which there's a sensory organs and brain structures is also it will be present at the anterior end of the animals. Okay, so now we studied about that what are the patterns of symmetry. First we studied what is the symmetry and asymmetry. If we cut through the center axis, it's forming a 2 halves, that is a symmetry, and there is no display symmetry, that is called as a asymmetry. Okay, so what are the examples of asymmetry? That is a sponges, and is also that is the adult gastropods of snails, also examples of asymmetrical. Okay, the simplest form body plan is called as the sponges. Okay, next is types of symmetry. One is radial symmetry, next is pentamerous radial symmetry, next is biradial symmetry, next is bilateral symmetry. Okay, small intro discussion as a conclusion. Radial symmetry is, that is radially the plane of axis, central axis cut into any plane axis, plane passing through the central axis, that is a radial symmetry, it forming a two identical parts. And it's a pentamerous radial symmetry is the same, but as a triploblastic animals we have getting any plane axis, we getting a 5 planes of symmetry, that is a pentamerous radial symmetry. And biradial radial symmetry is nothing but that is that 2 pairs, we have cutting a longitudinal and zygotal axis, and also other through the axis passes through the longitudinal and transverse axis, that is a biradial symmetrical. Next is bilateral means, so it is a dorsal and ventral sides, anterior and posterior ends, and is a right side and left sides are bilaterally symmetrical. It will be exhibit the characteristics of a cephalization. Can you understand, ma?